Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center and I'm here with Anna with her movie Insomniac. Let's take a look at a clip.
I used to be really good at sleeping. I once slept through a hurricane.
Now on the other side of the eye where you've been having some reports.
I used to snore too, really bad. My roommate even made me wear those strips you put on your nose. Now sleep is the enemy.
Anna, thank you so much for being here and congratulations on your film.
Thank you, I'm excited.
Well, for those that don't know about your film, it's kind of a little clue in the title, but tell us a brief synopsis of Insomniac.
Insomniac is a film about one night of no sleep through the eyes of a real insomniac, which is me. And I think I wanted to tell it in sort of a non-linear, although it is slightly linear, slightly surreal, found footage, kind of weird, brief way, just because I feel like when you have insomnia, you spend time with your thoughts, which are so crazy, and they're not linear, and they're fantastical. So treating the subject matter like that, as if you're trapped in your own mind, felt like the right approach.
Well, I mean, it was you're very talented because you took us into amazing worlds. Like it was I was like, I felt, is this like David Lynch? This is like
thanks.
really amazing, you know? And honestly, kind of when you're going through that sort of experience, your mind plays a lot of games with your imagination and everything. For someone that suffers themselves, dare I ask, where did your inspiration come from in creating this particular story?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of different mediums, and one of them is a comic. I have this web comic about depression and anxiety and insomnia that's very first person, and that itself started when, I think it really took off when I moved into an apartment all by myself for the first time and suddenly started talking to myself, which maybe more people do. I felt insane, right? Like I would literally talk out loud to myself, and I started in my comics drawing multiples of myself, like having conversations with myself and having conversations with like amorphous blobs that represented depression and anxiety. And I think I was very much in that mindset when I wrote Insomnia. Obviously, I had insomnia when I wrote it. I feel, I guess, to be a working writer is to write every day, even if you don't feel inspired. But I really still abide by that like mythos of when the spirit takes you, right? And that always happens at like 2 a.m.
Oh, always.
But I couldn't sleep, which is like happens all the time. And I sat down and I just sort of started writing about my relationship to sleep, which I ended up sort of revising and tweaking, and it ended up in this really shortened form. But within those tight 3 minutes, hopefully tight, but within those 3 minutes, I just wanted to contain as many images as I could and disparate images, especially because I think there is something about being awake in the middle of the night that feels somewhere between reality and dreams. Kind of because for me, I'm not just up all night, although I am sometimes, but a lot of the time I'll sleep for 20 minutes, I'll wake up, be awake for 2 hours, sleep for another 20 minutes. I have maybe some lucid dreams, and there is this, I think, space between that, I guess subliminal space between those two worlds that I wanted to capture with the film.
You really did. Like, I really love that you have such wonderful imagination and where you took us in the pool. Like, I love that whole experience that you took us, because also this is a condition and you gave it to us in a very entertaining, very mystical way. but not unrealistic whatsoever. It was actually like, you know, what one can go through during this time. For one that suffers as well, I find it very therapeutic. You know, I was like, I'm not alone, this is so fantastic, you know?
Yeah.
You had a fantastic cast, 2 great actresses. Tell us a bit more about how your casting process for you.
Yeah, so obviously I was the star, but I act in a lot of the stuff I write just because I'm a writer, performer, director, which is always a little awkward bringing people on board being like, and by the way, I'm the star of the show.
I think it's great, but when you're doing that though, because do you find, you know, when you're actually taking on that role, how is that for you being, it's your own work, you're directing and you're on camera, how do you manage those kind of things? Because it's difficult.
It is really hard, especially with that film because so much of it took place in a pool, which was very cold. We shot in like October or something like that, and the pool we used was so cold.
Oh,
and
it was
it
as cold as it looks? I was thinking about that.
It
Oh
was
my goodness.
terrible. And I mean, my DP, Kelly Urban, also had to jump into the pool and stand underwater.
Wow.
So like, she was right there with me. But I think that was the hardest part because I was so disoriented from having to like hold my breath underwater and also being really cold.
The things you do for filmmaking.
Yeah,
you know?
and
My
like then
goodness.
going and looking in the viewfinder, but it was really bright outside, so it was hard to see, and just sort of trusting that we had it. And I think it is a challenge, but for me it's worth it because some stories just feel like an extension of myself. And I'm crowdfunding a film now that's called Foghorn, about a girl whose vagina starts emitting a foghorn.
Oh.
It's crazy. It's like an Alice in Wonderland sort of story. But with that film too, at first I thought I would cast it out. But when I sat down and thought about the story, I saw myself in it. And
You know, listen, you do a great job, so please keep doing it. Like, I
Thank
mean,
you.
please, no. I think it's fantastic, and when, you know, when you're a triple threat, just go with it, because that's what you got going on. No, I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I think sometimes, especially as an actress as well, you can really you feel that role. You know what I mean? You feel that emotionally.
yeah, and I love writing. I think I'm probably a writer first. That's what I went to school for. But I do have this like chip on my shoulder of like, no one else is gonna write for me. If I get written into something, it's as a side character, as a girlfriend. I've been out on some really crazy like Latina specific auditions that are like the prostitute or like the cartel daughter. So there is something empowering about just writing the role I want.
Yeah. And it's important, honestly, I say this to filmmakers all the time, it's important that you're making those changes, because you know what, like we're trying very slow to wake up what we should have been doing from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But you know, until we start writing those roles and it's not overtaken by an absolute minority that have dominated this industry for years,
Yeah.
it's never going to change. And that's why it's important that you are writing these roles as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting subject because so many of my favorite shows are written and created by white men. And that's no shade on them. Like, they're some of my heroes. I love BoJack Horseman, and I love Maniac, and God. And I think what is a little difficult is to see that there are so few, for example, women of color behind the camera on those like high concept, surreal, whimsical stories that I love. And I think we're seeing change in front of the camera. The creator, the creator of BoJack Horseman has this new show Undone that is so cool, and the lead is like a half Latina like me, and I like see myself in it so much. But still knowing that that change hasn't happened behind the camera, I think at the end of the day is what motivates me and says, you know what, there is space for me to do both sides and to make the whole thing my own voice.
Of course, yeah. No, yeah. I'm excited that you are doing that. You know, it really is. It gives us hope. in
Thank
Hollywood.
you.
So what was this experience like? I mean, I've obviously seen your film, and then I saw it again on the screen last night, and I was like, wow, this film looks so good on the big screen. What was the experience like at New Filmmakers LA in partnership at the home of the Oscars? What was that experience like to have your film there?
It was awesome. I have never seen anything I've made on a screen quite that big, but then on top of it, to be at the Academy, I was like, I felt so cool.
A big statue.
I know, I took so many pictures. I took a picture next to the big statue. And then to have all those meetings, I was so honored. It made me feel like I was meant to be there, even though the other films were so good.
Yeah.
I was like,
we couldn't be there without you. So that's what it's all about, honestly. So you obviously explained a little bit what's next for you. Are you starting that soon, the next project?
Yeah, so starting October 1st, I'm crowdfunding a short film, Foghorn. And it's pretty low, but I mean, everything I do is so low budget just because I call on favors and make it work, guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah. But so I'm going to be launching the crowdfunding campaign. People can check me out. My Instagram is sort of the like hub for everything. Oh yeah, that's they defined you. Yeah. Yes, Bad Comics with an X by Anna with two N's on Instagram and all social media. But yeah, I'm going to be crowdfunding that. It's the most ambitious project I've ever done. Yeah. A lot of locations, bigger crew, bigger production value. But I think watching the films last night, especially by the female filmmakers, and that everyone was Latinx, felt really inspiring. Yeah. So I'm so excited to start this next film. Oh, I love that. You know, sometimes, you know, it's weird, isn't it? We do these creative things, but we also need a reminder of why we do it. And I think last night is such a wonderful thing for a filmmaker to experience, particularly in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month as well. You know, it was just people coming from all over Central and South America, all over the United States. It was a beautiful thing to experience as well. For you as a filmmaker, what have you learned, or maybe something that you would want to share for anyone that would want to follow in your footsteps? I think the first thing I've learned is that if you keep dreaming about doing something, I know so many people who are like, oh, I'm going to make my short film eventually. I'm going to write my script eventually. It can feel really daunting and intimidating, but you just have to use small baby steps. This film was really, really short, especially compared to the other films. It was only 3 minutes, but I needed to make that short film to get to the film that I'm crowdfunding now. Yeah. It's okay to start small. Do you know, we rarely hear that, and that is so important, because people do. They honestly think they see the overwhelmingness of everything, and baby steps. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. Anna, I love your movie. Thank you for entertaining and being absolutely therapeutic for me in watching it. Very much so. Thank you. I love your work and can't wait to see much more of your films. So thank you very, very much. And please keep making more films for us. Thank you so much. Okay, and everybody.